प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ॐ तत्सत्परमात्मने नमः। This is an invocation to the Bhagavad-Gita. In this shloka, traditionally used whenever we begin our meditations on the Bhagavad-Gita, the entire character and history of this great work is depicted. The Bhagavad-Gita is the divine knowledge which Bhagavan Shri Krishna imparted to Arjuna, the son of Prutha, another name for Kunti, Parthaya Pratibodhitam. And this great knowledge, which nearly 5,000 years ago Shri Krishna gave to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was recorded by sage Vyasa. Otherwise it would have been lost to us, lost to humanity. Vyasa was one of the greatest minds that perhaps the world has produced. In his time, he was considered almost omniscient, all-knowing. Vyasa immediately recognized that something unique was happening. Actually, he had anticipated many things in the Mahabharata war that was being enacted in Kurukshetra. So the story goes that King Dhritarashtra, who was born blind, expressed a desire to understand what was happening. He wanted what you may call a running commentary upon the happenings in the battlefield. Sitting in the security of his palace, he wanted something like your television. And Vyasa is supposed to have conferred that power of a supervision, a television, much more than television. Television only watches the outward happening. this supervision could understand the working of the minds of the people seen. So Vyasa, out of his spiritual power and Dhritarashtra being very close to him, almost his son, to fulfill this legitimate desire of the king, he conferred this power upon Sanjaya, a courtier, and he was narrating the entire happening of the great Mahabharata war. Bhagavad-Gita is almost the opening of that great event. What a grand and glorious opening it was. Perhaps it was the most unexpected opening. So the entire narration you find is coming through the mouth of Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. Because this was possible through the grace of Vedavyasa, we always remember him whenever we meditate upon this great message of the Bhagavad-Gita. Vyasena gratitham. That beautiful flow of light that was coming out of the divine mouth of Shri Krishna, that was captured, recorded once for all by Vyasa. The Bhagavad-Gita we find as a work. We vow to Vedavyasa. As the very name tells you, Bhagavad-Gita simply means the Lord's song. Bhagavad Gita, something that is sung. Whereas we find that this is a teaching, but the teaching came through an inspiration from within. Therefore, it shares the nature of a song. It came bubbling from within Sri Krishna naturally. He being a great man who was considered in his times and even now as an incarnation of divinity, what we call avatara. Like a master, like a true master, I should say a divine master, whatever he did was beautiful. But in all his lifetime, perhaps this teaching, this instruction he gave to his dearest friend Arjuna was the best of his masterpiece. So much so, Shri Krishna himself must have been astounded at what was happening. He was delivering it in a supreme mood through a divine intuition. Mind you, again I repeat, whatever Shri Krishna did was divine, but this was specially divine. So we do not call it the Krishna Gita, we call it the Bhagavad-Gita. So the divinity, the Bhagavata, took hold of Shri Krishna. There is an anecdote which happened much after the Bharata war, where Arjuna is supposed to have asked Shri Krishna, when everything was calm and quiet and the kingdom was established, and they were recalling the entire thing, Arjuna told, "Oh Lord, I remember you gave me such a beautiful teaching, but in the immediate necessities and duties of establishing a kingdom, most of the words I have forgotten. Can you please repeat it?" On hearing this request, Sri Krishna is supposed to have expressed his utter inability to reproduce the Bhagavad-Gita. He himself could not repeat it. And there he says, it was a supreme moment. It cannot come again. So that gives us the excellence of Bhagavad-Gita, which cannot be copied by anyone. It just happened, and it happened once for all. It was a conversation between two divinities. It was the divine speaking to the divine. Because we believe that Arjuna also was an incarnation. He was not an ordinary man. Apart from his prowess as a soldier, as a warrior, the best among the Kurus, all the masters who have taught the Bhagavad-Gita, meditated upon the Bhagavad-Gita, and then handed down the knowledge to us, all the masters right down to our age have insisted upon this dimension of divinity. The significance of Bhagavad-Gita, why we hold this teaching so precious. There are so many teachings, especially in the Hindu religion. Why do we consider the Bhagavad-Gita so very important? Why did Sri Shankara, for instance, chose the Bhagavad-Gita when he was faced with the task of re-establishing our Dharma in India? In the reconstruction of Bharata, this great master Acharya Shankara chose Bhagavad-Gita out of the thousands of works. So this shows us there is a speciality. And he points out, like him all other masters have pointed out, that the significant fact is it is a direct revelation from the divine. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kimanyai Shastra Vistaraihi. The traditional sloka goes, this Gita should be accepted wholeheartedly, most eminently. Sugita Kartavya. What have we to do with the expanse of other scriptures? We have the essence here. Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmad Vinusruta. This Gita is the most excellent of the scriptures because it has come directly from the mouth of the Lord. So this Vasudeva had a mission in his life. He came down as the divine descent of the Lord of the universe, for the sake of people, men who were in the dark, who were being tested for the truth they stood for. He came to give them strength, to show them the path. This divine descent of Shri Krishna is all the more precious to us since he had the divine descent of man also, that is Nara. If Krishna is the incarnation of Narayana, Arjuna was the incarnation of Nara, the man, the eternal man, the perfect man. So the Nara-Narayana relationship is immortalized in the Hindu thought in so many ways. Even now we believe they are meditating in the Himalayas. We participate in this intimate relationship of Nara and Narayana, man and God, through our understanding of the Bhagavad-Gita. The conversation, intimate conversation between man and God is available to us through the Bhagavad-Gita. And I would like to tell you, we believe that we are also incarnations of God. We are also avatars. We have gone through so many lives before. Maybe we have occupied the seats of Indra many times. So we have this hidden divinity within us, and it is calling for expression. We want to express the divinity in us, the beauty in us, the truth in us, because it's there. So we believe everyone has the truth incarnated in him. And that is the thought with which Bhagavad-Gita opens. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadipaha. You know how Arjuna was in a confusion. He thought fighting would mean opposing those who are dear to him, those who are worshipful like Bhishma and like Drona, the teacher, the grandsire, because they were arrayed against him, taking the side of Duryodhana, who was supposed to be the enemy, to be vanquished. But along with Duryodhana, there were so many nice people. There were so many good people, and they all have to be killed. So he was overcome by that grief and the terrible nature of the act. But he had to do it. Not doing also was wrong. Doing also was wrong. But mind you, I would like to impress upon you, the question in the Bhagavad-Gita is not whether to do or not to do. The question was what he should be. The question is of oneself. How do I prove my truthfulness? If I am truthful, then I am ready to act in any way. If I am not truthful, the highest religion is not going to either satisfy me or my God. So when Arjuna asked the Lord, what is the truth of life? Shri Krishna gave this answer, see, don't be confused with these things. Don't think you are killing somebody. Don't think you are killing truth. Don't think you are killing love. You, I, and these have always been there. They are now and they will always be there. So the soul nature is being brought forth here. We are all there in our divinity. We are participating. So we find that we are asked to discover and assert this divine nature within us. It is a participation with the divine. When we forget the divine, we are overcome by the seriousness of the situation, the setbacks, maybe the sorrow that acting involves. So the Bhagavad-Gita asks you to discover yourself properly in a very situation. It is a self-discovery and a self-expression. Well, every one of us are mostly concerned about ourselves. When we love others, when we value a situation or a thing, we value it because it benefits us, because it pleases us. Why do I love anything? I love it because it is so loving. It is so lovable. It gives me joy. But then I have to be sure that this joy will not turn into sorrow later on. And that's what happens. Situations change. We try to blame it on things, on persons. Persons change, things change. We should have known that. But the self does not change. So it matters very much to us how we handle the changing situations of life, how we connect ourselves with things and persons. Bhagavad-Gita gives us a very simple message. We love everything because of the divine in that thing. We are justified in our action. Our action is right because it expresses the divinity. So the right or wrong of life is to be measured in as much as we are aware of truth. If we are not truthful ourselves, our act is not going to benefit anybody, the least myself. So the message of the Bhagavad-Gita is act. But act truthfully. Act soulfully. Act so that you may be enlightened. You may get some light. So 3 things are there in the Bhagavad-Gita. How to act, how to feel, how to know. These 3 are inherent in every person, in every human being. He has the power to act, he has the power to feel, he has the power to know. Bhagavad-Gita tells you how you can be fulfilled, how you can be complete, how you can be right in your act and emotion and knowledge. So please remember, there are 18 chapters in the book of Bhagavad-Gita. We may conveniently divide them equally into 3 sections, 6 chapters each. The first 6 chapters, they teach action. The second 6 chapters devote themselves to development of your emotions. And the last 6 chapters analyze the perfection of knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. So you see, it is a complete document of human life and human fulfillment. That is the central message. Now I would like to tell you very shortly, what is the act, what is the emotion, what is the knowledge, which according to Gita will be good for us and good for all, the entire world. Gita says, act with equanimity. Any act that will induce within you strong likes and dislikes, those acts are going to bind you. Gita is very dear to us, to scholars, and very useful to us. For one thing, it puts everything in a clinching way, small, short sentences, usually 8-lettered sentences. 1/4 of the shloka which usually you find in the Bhagavad-Gita, it's in a metric form. That's why it can be sung. It's according to the meter. So you have such beautiful statements like yogastaha kuru karmani, karmanyeva adhikaraste, samatvam yoga uchyate. Very short, complete, clinching declarations. You can't but do. Doing, acting is your birthright. So you have to exercise it. But then do in yoga. Exercise the power of yoga, spiritual power. How will you exercise spiritual power in acting? Samatvam yoga uchyate. See that the poise of the mind is not disturbed. The balance of the mind is not lost. Then every act that you do will be beautiful. Have you heard about rope walkers? People who walk on the rope? Somebody told me that one man was so adept in it, whenever he used to find something at a distance, tall pillars, he would like to walk in between them. So when he saw the Empire State buildings, then I think he had a desire to put a rope there and walk on it. And he did it. Nobody was allowed to do it, but he did it. Of course, there was a traffic jam below. People were observing this man walking. And the police came to catch him. But, when they came to catch him, they found that he was not trying to commit suicide. He was not deliberately trying to block the traffic. He was performing. He was an artist. So they did not put him into prison. They let him because it was an art. Similarly, the Bhagavad-Gita says time will catch hold of you if you don't exhibit the art of life, balancing yourself. This thin rope of life is there. You have to walk on it. You should not fall. Temptations will be there. Difficulties will be there. Attractions will be there. But you have to go with your balance. That is an art you develop. If you have this art, nobody will catch you. Everybody will appreciate you. You will have the joy of acting artistically. That's what Bhagavad-Gita teaches you. Be artistic in everything. So, you have to do everything with complete composure. Secondly, what about the emotion within you? You may not care for these attractions, but what joy will you have? It says, think that all the powers of acting and the situation in which you act is given to you by God. Think of that. Think of God. Ma manusmara yudhyacha. Think of the origin of things. Think of the beloved God. For him you are doing, with him you are playing. So your emotions are not lost. Rather, they are lifted up and you have a great true love for God. You love things because of God. If you try to love God, then God will reveal himself to you. That is the only way of knowing God. If you love, you will know. So you act to love, you love to know. In this way, entire life becomes one unit. So when you have an orderly way of living, you have to do things in an orderly way. And when you do things with love, and then when you love knowingly, then life becomes a fulfillment. The Lord says everywhere, the pure in the heart alone can follow dharma. Those who follow dharma alone can love God. Those who love God alone can attain to freedom and bliss. Therefore, our main aim is to keep our heart pure. Bhagavad-Gita teaches you how you can purify yourself. That is yoga. Remember, all the 18 chapters in the Bhagavad-Gita are yogas. They are all different methods, different practices, different understandings, different sadhana through which you will purify your heart. Be pure in heart, and then when you act, you will be acting out of love. You will be acting out of your self-nature. Yastu atmaratireva syat tasya karyam na vidyate. Now it is no more a compulsion. Life is no more a burden. Life is an expression of joy and beauty. So we end with one question. Usually people ask, now did this all happen or is it imagination? So I say, yes, this incident of the Mahabharata war is a historical incident. Actually, there is an era, a calendar that is initiated in India, the Kali Abda we call it. That calendar begins from the time the Mahabharata war ended and Yudhishthira was installed on the throne. It is very much a fact. It is a fact that Krishna walked on this earth, on the soil of India. It is a fact that he had a friend, he had a relative called Arjuna. These were the great ideals, and ideals that we share even now. The Bhagavad-Gita only tells us that Krishna as a personality came and went away, but he still lives with you, within you, as a spiritual entity. So it is a fact, it happened. If we also try to share the nature of Arjuna, we will be able to receive the message of Krishna. So our main concern is we must be like Arjuna. Remember, Sanjaya also heard the Bhagavad-Gita when it was uttered 5,000 years back. Most probably Vyasa also was hearing. Most probably the Hanuman seated in the top of the chariot near the flag mast, he was also hearing. Hanuman was seated there in Arjuna's chariot. All these people were participating in the teaching of Bhagavad-Gita. They were all enlightened people, elevated people. They could appreciate the beauty and significance of Bhagavad-Gita. Let us take the cue from them. Amongst all these hearers, Arjuna is the most eminent because this was directly addressed to Arjuna. So let us inculcate within ourselves the grand qualities of Arjuna, the best amongst men. Let us have his skill, let us have his sincerity, let us have his faith. Lord says, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. If you have faith, you will attain to knowledge. Let us have that faith, utter faith that Arjuna had in the Lord. He did not approach it with an idea to find fault. He did not have any misgivings about that. He was sure that truth was being delivered to him. He received it with great attention and adoration. And slowly the immense dimensions of truth were revealed to him. As he understood and was enlightened, so will we understand. We will also be enlightened. That is the eternal hope that Bhagavad-Gita gives us. Name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee never perishes. Let us accept this invitation to good, invitation to joy, everlasting joy. Om Purnamadaha Purnamadam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.